In 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, what is going on? This is Brett, and welcome back to Power Rankings. We're here with I think our last special guest, Static.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Static G703, the one and only Gioltiano Gaming and the coach.
Gotta have that intro.
Gotta plug every time, as cringy as it is.
It's great though, but I guess we'll just go ahead and jump straight into our first picks here at number 14. I have Splurge, and you have me here. The reason why I decided what the heck, I switched slides for some reason. Oh wait, there you go. Okay, I have Splurge here. Me and him are both 1 and 6, but even though he won the head-to-head matchup versus me, I still lost, like, not as bad to Brad like he did this week. So I just decided to keep myself above him, and for that reason.
Yeah, like you said, you're both 1 and 6. I had you up there at at 13, or I had him at 13th instead of 14th because you have the same differential. The big reason why I had you down here is, like you said, you didn't lose as badly to Brad, but specifically with this week, there were some plays that, like Splurge, I think, just got outmatched in the matchup straight up because I don't like his team.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like you made some mistakes in your game that were kind of consequential, like switching the Venusaur in on the Basculin instead of sacking your Persian. I thought kind of was rough. Yeah. And only that, but your schedule is really brutal for the rest of the season. Whereas I can see Splurge, if he actually manages to, buckle down, work with this new team with Siger that he has, he might be able to get a win or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just looking at my schedule, I don't really see me winning too many games for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I still have a lot of those playoff coaches to play. Like I haven't
that's
played.
Kind of the big thing. Is like if you're only 1 and 6 at this, or 1 and 6 at this point in the season, when it comes down to going into the killers who are all in playoffs, then you're gonna have no chance. So sad. I wish you were up higher, but I had to put you down here.
Yep. And then number 13, we already spoke about this, but just to reiterate, I have Washington Redskitty as the name, but I forgot to change that. Anyway, I have myself there again because even though I lost the head-to-head versus Splurge, I only have myself above him in regards to me not losing as bad to Brad. But we spoke about that, and we know why you have Splurge here.
So like I said with Splurge, I think the biggest problem is just his team. It's very, very passive. In the game against Brad, he basically just let his Suicune get weakened down at the very beginning of the game with Zardex. And he let his Escavalier die super early, which just let Scizor go to town.
Yep.
Like there was nothing that Splurge could have done as soon as he let his Scizor checks go down. So I mean, I think that's in part due to his team. Like some of the mons that he has, he's never really ever going to use. So, like, it's also similar to what I think with Metagross, but we'll get to him in a second. But, yeah, so I think Splurge, it's you and Splurge are down there. I think there's just differences where his is team and yours is some of the decisions you're making in-game. Because I think your prep is okay.
If we move on to number 12 here, we both decided to put Metagross here, who picked up a pretty nice win against me. Basculin. It's a good mon.
Yeah. Shut up. Don't even get me started. I'm not doing this with you, dude.
Tell me why Basculin's such a good mon stat.
Oh, Lord. For those of you who don't know, Keister back in the old days used to tout Basculin as his favorite mon, and Basculin's my least favorite mon out of all 890-something Pokemon in the entire Pokedex. It's just the worst, so... I mean, good kudos to Matt for putting in work with it, but he didn't even use blue form, like, use the garbage red form, too. It's just,
Is there a difference between the two? I never knew.
There's no stat difference. The blue just looks cooler.
Oh.
And it's more rare.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, so between Nihilego and Scizor, he used his threats pretty well. I think he's kind of just at a loss due to his team. I actually like it less than Splurge's. So, uh, I mean, I think the trades that he made are going to definitely help him in the long run, but we'll kind of have to see how that works out for him.
Yeah. But just looking at how he played, at least since I was on the receiving end of the onslaught of Basculin, it honestly he was predicting my plays honestly a lot of the time, at least with my switches and everything.
Yeah, because you like psych it into your Persian.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was definitely trying to play the prediction game, which in fairness, that's kind of what you have to do when you're on the back foot like that. But with Matt, I think we'll kind of have to see what happens in the coming weeks. I'm not entirely set on him being sort of back.
Yeah, but he did pick up a pretty good win versus me. Again, he predicted a lot of my switches and everything, but nice play on his part. Just gotta hopefully, at least for my sake, do better.
Trying to get him to be the dark horse of the league right now.
Yeah, he's. Oh Lord. Anyway, number 11, we both have Melone here. It seems as though Malone's starting to burn out for the season. I've always noticed whenever he gets into a losing streak, it's really hard for him to come out of that, at least and try and get his head screwed on straight and pick up some wins.
Yeah. The thing about Malone is I think it's partially his fault with this game, the past game, and partially just TCP playing like a legend, honestly. Like there are things, like the fact that Incineroar had Blaze instead of Intimidate sucked. I think that his defense is definitely very passive. He uses it very well, but it's also if there's someone who can take advantage of it, like with a Guts Machamp that just wallops against your team, then that's where the problems start. I think he could be using Diancie a little bit better than he has been, and I think if he does end up doing that, then he might have a lot more success. But I agree with what you're saying for sure. He can definitely experience burnout, or definitely experience like he can kind of run into a brick wall where once he starts losing, he kind of just keeps losing. Yeah, although that's more, I feel like that's more Shadow than Malone, but I can definitely see it starting to happen with Malone.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed the past few seasons because I'm in his like little prep server that he has with me and Ian. It's just.
Well, I think another thing is that Malone himself is pretty inconsistent. Like I feel like with some other coaches in the league, you can tell pretty often how they're going to do, but with Malone, it's sort of a wild card. 2 seasons ago, he did amazing. Last season, he did, not as good. This season, he started okay, but now he's starting to drop. You never really know what Malone you're going to get. So that makes it hard to kind of place him properly, but based on his play the past few games, I think this is a good spot for him.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on to number 10 here on the next slide. We both decided to put you at number 10.
I don't think it's really hard to contest my placing here. I haven't exactly been doing good. I'm also 2-5. I lost to Texas pretty significantly. So
yeah.
That being said, I did take on Sketch, and I think this game in particular, like the last 2 games, my prep has really kind of been uninspired, if I'm being honest, and especially with Bash, that one hurt a lot. Just basically getting Dragon Danced on first turn, where it was sort of like, my prep went to waste, kind of tired me out for Texas, so I don't know how I would have prepped against him if I was feeling a little hotter, but I think my game against Sketch was definitely... I had a lot more life than me in that game in comparison to the past couple.
It's something that I've always really liked about it's something that like the way you prep. I've always really enjoyed. Just watching to see what kind of gimmicks you can do. They might not always work, but
yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that me running HP Water on Sigilith let him sack Halusha late game is just those little things like that. Hindsight's 2020. If I'd brought Stun Fist instead of Silvally, then that game could have. Defensively, I probably would have had a better time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I Dragon Dance thinking he had Protect as his last move, then I also could have won. So, there's 50 million things that could have happened in that game, but I mean, I brought him close. He was sweating, so
Definitely.
that's good.
That's all you can really hope for. If you do lose against the top guys, at least you can bring it close. Number 9 here, we have Mr. Texas Man and the Dallas Mudstills.
Mr. Texas.
Mr. Texas. I'm really liking what he's doing. As for me,
yeah, at the beginning of the season, I wasn't exactly like I didn't know what to kind of make of. We didn't exactly start really hot, but this past game against Ian, you know, kind of sucked for him. But he has a very good sort of volt turn core, which you can see him, you know, just kind of exploiting for the rest of the season if he can get it. Yeah, Texas is kind of an unknown to me still. He did beat me. That was one of the 2 wins. So I can't remember what was the other one was.
let me look actually. Let's see. He won against you, and he beat Splurge.
Splurge. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of the sort of thing where if he wants to go up any higher slots, he has to sort of take higher names. Like, I know I'm a pretty decent name. I'm sort of middle of the pack, but he needs to start taking on somebody. Like, he has a lot of early, like, I think he lost against, like, Brad and Ian. But if he can face off against maybe Robert or against Bash, then that might be a good thing to kind of get him up a few spots. I think he has the team to do it. I think... we'll just have to see. I kind of don't really know about him. I just know he's better than me, but not as good as the rest of the people above him. That's basically how I see it.
Yeah, it's I met Texas in another league like a year or 2 ago. But I've only ever battled him one time, surprisingly, and seeing how he does in the ASL. It's always been really interesting to me how he would fare, because he was offered not a playoff spot, but a coaching spot before, and he declined it. But seeing him here, I'm really liking what he's doing so far. Really hoping that he can get some more wins. But hopefully he can start taking some higher names, like you said.
Sounds about right. Yeah, for sure.
Then we have Mr. Shadow, who I was praising earlier in the season, but now he's starting to fall off a bit.
Well, here's the thing with Shadow, especially if we're taking into account, like, he has been falling off, and Shadow has been kind of in the lower half of the league for the past few seasons. But particularly this week, I don't think it's as bad considering he did lose to Robert. And even though he did lose to Robert, it wasn't a bad loss. Gyarados completely destroyed that team. And he's been using it smartly. Like, to get past the dry skin with Molt Breaker was really, really good on his part. If it wasn't for the fact that Toxapex is stupid, I think you actually would have won the game.
Yeah, Toxapex is so dumb.
No, yeah, it's so stupid. The fact that it was like he missed a roll on Lando T with an HP Ice, a +1 Calm Mind HP Ice, you know, sucks. He got a first turn Skull Burn on his Kartana. Like, I think that he can definitely sort of hit a rut, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he's definitely here to play, and I think he's definitely here to win games. So that's why I think he's above me, for sure. I don't know. People just underrate Gyarados a lot.
I've always really liked Gyarados. I've never used it myself, at least.
I actually did an off season. What a fun old game. I beat Milan with it. That was great. Good time.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh yeah, it was great. Everyone ran. What was it? 5 Scarfers and a Dragon Dance Patai Parry Gyarados. It was fun.
I think you've told me about that before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've heard that story.
I think the biggest thing for Shadow was that not sacking their Kartana when it was burned. I think if he could have gone into the Blaziken and then just killed the Togekiss, I think he might have had a chance. That's about as, especially with Swords Dance in the back, he could have played some mind games. Yep. Yeah, that's about what I gotta say at Shadow. Good on him, and hope he keeps doing well.
Same. I've always really liked seeing what Shadow can pull off. He's always one of those coaches that he can pull off some really big upsets. At least I've normally see it towards the end of the season.
Well, especially with some of the opponents that he has.
Uh-huh. But we know he can always do great things if he just buckles down and just focuses. And then at number 7, we both have Mr. Bash, who lost this week after his little mini win streak. I think, yeah, little tiny mini win streak. He lost to Peaches, who's one of our playoff coaches at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean it was a close game. I think again when it comes to this sort of latter half of the coaches, it's going to come down to sort of their consistency as well as ingenuity.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Bash is he's very consistent, but at the same time his sets are not exactly all that creative from what I've felt. Like he's very much goes with sort of the standard stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're running, offensive Whimsicott or Tapu Fini with Calm Mind and Energy Ball, there are ways that you can get around the way that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to want to see him step up his sort of variation in terms of his sets to try and catch his opponents off guard a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Because really he's kind of just banking on Flamor, Milotic, and Mega Latios tanking hits and then setting up. Like that's basically what Bash has been doing.
Yeah, I mean it's been working most of the time, but I mean I think
it's
people
been working for sure. But when it comes to fighting people in playoffs like Brad or Ian or Robert, he's going to need to find something else. I think
because it's starting to become expected and people just see right through it. And then moving on to number 6, we finally have another difference of opinion after a few. You have Peaches here at 6. I have Brad. Why did you decide to put Peaches here?
Yeah, you can go ahead first with Brad.
Oh, okay. I decided to put Brad here because for the past 2 weeks, I've been flip-flopping Peaches and Brad.
Yeah.
And I feel as though just looking at at least for this week specifically, Peaches went against a much tougher opponent than Brad did.
That's fair enough.
So I just decided to put Brad here because at least I was just mainly looking at this week.
Right. You're kind of taking it out of context the whole season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I guess out of context with the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing for me, again, looking down the road, the rest of the coaches here have pretty decent schedules, but with Peach's win here specifically, it wasn't as solid as any of the other people above him. Like, he was very close to losing. I don't know if it was based on a roll with that Whimsicott, but it was really, really close. And I loved the sets. I loved the ingenuity, but just, again, based on the people who have been in playoffs 4 or 5 seasons in the past, I think it's like being in 6th place is a playoff spot. It's definitely not something to root against, but I think I just don't see him being quite as strong off of the Bash win as I see like with a close sort of 1-0 or 2-0 versus Brad beating, someone who's a little bit lower, but he beat he beat Splurge like 4-0 or 5-0, and he's been kind of riding that wave pretty consistently the last little while.
Something that I've noticed about Brad is a lot of people have been making sure that Brad can't do it, like he can't do anything with Megazard X. Which is actually, even though it's kind of like hacksy in a way with like Thunderwave and all that. I mean, it's been working with people trying to shut that thing down because that thing is such a threat. And especially in the hands of Brad, I think Brad would be a lot higher if people weren't able to actually shut that thing down before it can get going.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I think it is because of the fact that he's kind of only had to really rely on like half his, like the fact that his team is so good, but he hasn't really gotten a chance to showcase some of them, like Tentacruel, Rotom Wash, Zardex, like you said, his Tornadus really hasn't done much. It's mostly just kind of been being bulky and then like Crook and Scizor. So I think Brad still has a lot of tricks up his sleeve for the rest of the season, whereas I'm not sure about Peaches. I kind of have to wait to see what he does.
Yeah, definitely. And then at number 5 here, we have, you have Ian and I have Peaches. Why don't you go ahead and tell us why you have Ian here?
Yeah, so again, like I said, I just think Brad right now is going to be his team is the most threatening out of the 3, and he probably has the most consistency. Especially after that last game against Texas, I'm a little skeptical about Ian. Like, not a lot. That Dud Trio shut down that entire team. Like, I'm not going to take it away from that. It's just kind of, when it comes time to, if I'm matching them up in my head, I would think that both of Ian and Brad have the experience as well as sort of the team synergy. Because, Ian has a very frail team. It's like in the higher tiers. The lower tiers it's good, but the higher tiers up is good. But like the fact that a week or 2 weeks ago we didn't even know what his Clefable set was.
Yep.
We thought it was like Cute Charm, but instead it was like some weird, unaware set. The fact that he could have very easily lost that game to that Scarf Celebi if he had clipped Psychic instead of Giga Drain, or like if he had switched out against the Mega Beedrill instead of staying in.
Yep.
Stuff like that makes me think that Brad's a little bit stronger than Ian at this point, though I can definitely see that change.
I'm just excited for, honestly, the Commissioner Bowl that's coming up. Something that's always looked forward to, honestly. I'm hoping
that'll be the decider, yeah.
Definitely. I'm hoping that this season it'll be live and not replay.
Well, it's always a mixed bag with the Commissioner Bowl. I'm probably going to be working, so it won't matter for me.
No.
But for you, I bet you're...
I'm planning the whole thing again, so I'm most definitely going to be there. And if anybody that's watching wants to participate in the Commissioner Bowl activities, let me actually see what date it'll be on really quick.
If you want to help contribute, please donate to www.ubadlol.com/drunk.
Let's see, is it the 27th? I don't think, is it? I think it's...
Well, is it on a Sunday?
No, it's on a Saturday.
Well, that's the 27th, yeah. Okay.
On the 27th, the Commissioner Ball would be then. There's a Discord link in the description below if you guys want to participate in activities. We'll have tournaments and stuff going all day. I'm not going to say what the prize is, but there will be a raffle with a really good prize if you do participate. So look forward to that.
Yeah, come on. Stop making this league feel so dead sometimes. Says the man who makes the league feel dead sometimes because he doesn't talk in it.
You should talk more, Static.
Yeah.
Come and hang out with all
I know you miss me, Brad. It's okay.
Yeah, we all miss you. We all miss the one and only Jolteon of games.
The one and only. We all miss my week 1 trick rooms.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
number 4.
Yeah, so that you got Ian, yeah. I want to hear your opinion.
Oh my god, do you keep deleting the slide?
By accident, yes.
Oh my god. Number 4, I have Ian. Again, like, even though you said that Brad does look a little bit stronger than Ian, I wanted to put Ian up here purely because I love Ian, and he is my number 1. But yeah.
Do I detect some
favoritism?
commentary bias here? Is this an NP situation?
There might be a little bit of commentary bias here. Not gonna lie. But it's Ian. He'll make it work.
Yeah.
My God.
All right. What else about Ian did you like this week in comparison to past week?
Freaking Doug Trio, man.
Yeah, Dub Trio just went to town.
Honestly, it's just so freaking good. Like, I mean, it's good if you like. It's good depending on matchup.
It's not as good in Draft League, but it definitely shut down Texas's team really hard.
I feel like
after that Swampert was dead, yeah.
I feel like
job,
I feel like he might have should have put a shed shell on something.
Yeah.
But I mean, you live and you learn.
Teaching moment, dude.
Oh my God, the slide keeps going away right before my eyes. They've seen the number 1 and 2 picks like 5 times throughout the video already.
This is like push to top, dude. I'm trying to make sure I have habits with push to top, so that's more.
Okay. Do you want to say why you have Brad here at number 4?
I mean, like I said, it's just I feel like the past few games have shown that they're both pretty strong, but like they're both really strong. But Brad just seems a little stronger to me than Ian, just because not only past seasons where he has the experience, but also just in general.
Yep.
I think Ian and I usually go back and forth. Ian and Shadow usually go back and forth, whereas with Brad's opponents that he has coming up, he doesn't usually. So that's part of it. But also, again, just based on how he started up with Splurge in comparison to Ian, I think it was a little more telling. Sammy, on the other hand, completely, absolutely demolished his opponent, and it was great to watch.
Honestly, I love watching every battle that TCP does.
Oh my
he's
god,
such a veteran.
Machamp, dude. Machamp. And he had a really good Zoroark disguise too. He's been using Zoroark very well, and Zoroark is amazing, so thank you.
I've always wanted to use Zoroark. I never have before.
I honestly, I wish that TCP wasn't second, but I can't, like, the records, like, Robert just hasn't shown enough weakness to warrant it. I just think that, like, when it comes to the playoffs, TCP has these, you know, what do they say about him? He's, who is he secretly? I can't remember what people keep saying.
I don't remember. I've never heard this say.
It's just like a draft league meme.
Is it, they call him Gypsy King or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. It took me a minute to remember that. Freaking Bash always calling him Gypsy King.
But if he's Gypsy King, then who's Robert and Sketch?
Like, just looking at it, I don't know. I've always liked the way TCP does his battling and stuff. His prep, it's always really enticing. Never really anything predictable that comes from TCP. He's always had a knack of, at least in every match, bringing something that they don't expect. And I think that's one of the strong points.
And I mean, the team itself is just amazing. The Rachi, Mega King, Salamence, Gur. I think he used... Did he use Seismitoad this game, I think? Well, Rotom just wore down the defenses, and then he brought in that Machamp, and it just destroyed Melone. And then he brought the Zoroark to clean up, and that was it. It was just like another day at the work for him. So kudos once again, TCP. You're looking in good shape for playoffs right now, but we'll see how it goes down the road.
And then coming in at number 2, everybody pretty much expects these two to be up here. We have Mr. Robert here. Lately, at least in the games he's been playing, barring the one he had with Peach, he's looking like a really good battler. I didn't really know how to feel about him whenever he first joined, because I had never seen what he has done in the past in any other leagues or anything. But just looking at him, I really like what he's doing so far. It seems to be a pretty good battler, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I think, like I said before, it's hard to tell based on their wins before, and I was tempted, if he had been here at the beginning of the season and he had some losses, I could definitely see TVP being second here instead of him. But he's played with the team that he has very well. He's been taking over from Vish. He's used Zam very well. He's just landed very well. And like I said, Pex is just stupid. No, but he's used it very well, and he deserves that second place, absolutely.
Most definitely. Just looking at the records, there's really no reason to even put them lower than this. 7-1 for Robert.
Honestly, I think the difference between 1 and 2 is, like, at least in I haven't faced Robert yet, so I don't know for sure. It could definitely be a lot closer than I'm thinking it is, but I feel like the difference between 2 and 3 is closer than the difference between 2 and 1, but at the same time, he's still very definitively number 2.
Definitely. And then I guess moving on to number 1 here, we have Sketch in the instant eviles.
The instant Eva. I switched up the formatting that you were doing. We had Minston Eviles.
Yeah, Peach did that last week. He decided to put it upside down.
Mine is better, so get wrecked.
Get wrecked, Peach. But just looking at Sketch, again, another one of those coaches that I haven't really seen anything from before he replaced Cody. I think, yeah, he replaced Cody.
I was almost 2-0 against Sketch. Almost. I beat him. I think it was playoffs, or sorry, off season. Sorry, before the season came out, and I beat him when I took over replacement. And I almost beat him again, and it honestly came down to the first of all, he thawed on my ice punch, and then he had protect, which I thought he had. Well, I was thinking he had superpowers in the last move, but he had protect, and if I did, I think that last game, it was definitely a boon to him, and he's still easily #1, but I think I took him down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not a lot, just a little bit, but they closed the gap a bit. That being said, I mean, he's undefeated. He's 7-0. Good job. Sketch, you deserve the spot.
Most definitely. I guess going here at the last page, recap. Everybody is doing the thing. I'm probably the worst coach in the league, but
we'll see what happens. And, it's never too late, except that it's probably too late for your playoffs. But you never know, consolation bracket exists. So
I mean, last season I was runner-up in the consolation bracket.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I was doing terrible.
I'm the worst, just ever. Period. I'm the worst coach. I'm actually number 15 on this list.
Oh, you're number 15. Okay. Well, instead of the inner melodic being there, it's just the Jolteon. Just number 15.
It's just Sketch's Jolteon that he got 3 kills on me with. Freaking modest specs, dude. Anyway.
I guess that'll probably do it for us.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Let's or maybe should we stretch it out to 20 minutes for some ad revenue?
Well, it's 32
This
minutes.
is brought to you by ubadlol.com/drunk.
Oh my god.
Come and get your chimichangas today, and it's drunk Ina.
Oh my god, that's too much.
Officially sponsored by the ASL, or I don't know how it works. But,
that reminds me of...
thank you for having me, Brad. I much appreciate it, and I hope that you guys don't talk to me ever.
Oh my god. Have you seen the movie Talladega Nights?
I know of it. I haven't watched the thing in full, but I know,
Okay,
I know
so
what you're
near the beginning, he does those commercials, and then there was one commercial that he did where it was like Big Red, the chewing gum.
Yeah.
He was like, "This is Ricky Bobby, and if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you."
Fuck you, get out of here. I do remember this, yes.
Oh, that was the best. That's what I felt like when you were saying that.
So what you're saying is you're Ricky Bobby.
Shake and bake.
Hey guys, thank you for doing the power rankings with me, Static, and Brett Farrell over here.
Brett Farrell.
We'll see you next week in week 8,
Yep.
and hopefully I'll have actually won a game. So.
Yep, hopefully.
And Brett.
Depending on how votes go, we don't know who our next host will be.
Yeah, it could be Lotad playing.
Yeah, Lotad coming back.
Lotad's coming back.
He's gonna wheelchair straight into the power ranking. Okay, that's it. All right, see you guys.
Alright, this is bad now. See you guys.